Welcome back, everyone. Thomas Tuchel's England 2026 squad has just dropped, and realistically, it is making waves across the internet, across social media, and across YouTube. There's some massive names been left out. There's some underperforming stars been brought in, and there's some informed players that haven't, in my opinion, been given a look in. Today, we're diving into it. We're going to have a look at who's in, who's out, and why I believe Thomas Tuchel's taking a massive risk with this England team. If you're new around here, I'm Adam. This is Two for Joy. Get down there, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments who you think should be subbed in and subbed out for this England 2026 squad. Otherwise, let's get into it. So welcome back, Geordies, football fans alike, England fans. We're going to be going through Thomas Tuchel's England squad. First off, last game of the Premier League. And while I'll be cheering on Newcastle, I have put a little homage to West Ham in the hope that they will stay up and Spursy carry on being Spursy. But let's get into the England team. Jordan Pickford, Dean Henderson and James Trafford in goal, and I don't think there can be any complaints with this. I'm really pleased that Dean Henderson's managed to get a call up to the squad, and obviously James Trafford, we all know he's a decent keeper. He did well in the under-21s. I don't think anybody can have any complaints about the goalkeeper situation, but we'll move on to the defenders, and this absolutely baffles me, and I'll go through the list from youngest to oldest, and then we'll talk through it. Nico O'Reilly from Man City, totally worth being there. I think he's had a fantastic season. Jarrell Kwanzaa, 23 years old, and it baffles me with Jarrell Kwanzaa. I think he's been put in the squad as a backup centre-back, if I'm honest. Tino Livramento, now this is it's a big split. I am very happy for all the Newcastle players that have made it into this squad, and I will support them throughout the entire England campaign. But Tino Livramento's injury record is a real funny one, and I'd suggest that Tino Livramento is in this squad because he has performed well for England, and realistically, Tino Livramento can play left back and right back. His versatility is what's kept him in the running for this squad, even with the injuries. Jed Spence, 25 at left back. And I'll be honest, if you watch the Noises video that he did yesterday, absolutely fantastic. And you compare Jed Spence to Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall is hands down a better left back. And Jed Spence has not been in the greatest form. He's not had the best performances for England. And Tottenham are languishing at the bottom of the table. Could be relegated today. And yet Jed Spence is in this team over Lewis Hall. I find it very hard to understand why or how anybody can justify Jed Spence being in this team over Lewis Hall. Absolutely crazy. And then we move on to Mark Gahey, 25 years old. And Mark Gahey can play left back and right centre back. Or left centre back and right centre back. I think he's had a really good start at Man City. I think he's a very good shout as a centre back for England. And then moving on to Reece James, another injury prone right back. And this baffles me because the right backs we've got in this squad, being Tino Livramento and Reece James, both who've had catastrophic injuries over the course of a season, both who struggle to stay fit. And what I would say is Reece James is a fantastic right back, but the concerns around his injury record would be the thing that I'm looking at. And then moving on to Ezri Konsa, 28 years old. Ezri Konsa, I'm really pleased for. I think he's had a great season for Aston Villa. I think he's a very underrated centre-back. I think this is a really good shout for Ezri Konsa to come in. I think he's a solid player. And then on to John Stones. Now, for me, John Stones has barely played all season. I do not understand taking John Stones in this team. I understand he's an established player. I understand that he's got proven pedigree, and I can understand that he's a winner. But what I would say is, with these last two players, I'm surprised that Harry Maguire hasn't made it into this squad with the form and how regularly he's been playing for Manchester United. And the last one, obviously, Big Dan Burn. And a massive shout out to Big Dan Burn, because realistically, his story going from the underdog tale to back to his hometown, his boyhood club, scoring in a cup final, winning us a trophy, getting his England call up at 34, going to a World Cup. I am so pleased for him and his personal accolades to be in this team. But do I realistically think John Stones and Dan Burn are two of the best centre-backs we could currently take to the World Cup? I don't. I am really pleased he's there. I will cheer him on for the tournament. But I don't believe this is the best set of defenders we could have taken to this World Cup. And we'll move on to the midfield, because we have a similar situation in the midfield, with starting off with our youngest, Kobbie Mainoo, at 21 years old. Now, Kobbie Mainoo is a very talented player. He's had mixed reviews over the season for Man United. He's had mixed reviews for England. I think there are some better centre midfielders that could be in there. Adam Wharton definitely being one. Alex Scott's performances for Bournemouth being two. And then we move on to Jude Bellingham. Now, obviously, Jude Bellingham's going to be in this team. He is going to be the man. He is the guy that wants to carry England. He wants to portray himself in that role as being the leader, the centre of this midfield, the pinnacle of England's team. And I hope he can do it, because I personally believe his performances have been wayward this season. They've been up and down. As wonderful of a player as Jude Bellingham is, he has been hit and miss this season. And then moving on to the Geordie Maradona, Elliot Anderson. I am so fucking pleased for this kid. He deserves every accolade he gets this year. He has been absolutely fantastic. I'm still gutted we sold him. I will still follow his career. This boy is absolutely elite. And it will be proven over time. And then moving on to Morgan Rogers. Again, fantastic. 23 years old. Aston Villa. He's had a great season. He has been playing how we're expecting Jude Bellingham to play for England. Morgan Rogers has been doing that for Villa. He has been the guy in that central attacking midfield space. Creative, good finisher, works hard. He's got everything about him to suggest that he should be in this squad. And then Declan Rice, obviously the stalwart of England's midfield. He's had a great season winning the Premier League, and then obviously possibly moving on to a Champions League. We'll wait and see on that. And then the outlier of this entire group, Jordan fucking Henderson. Seriously, what are you doing in this England squad, you fraud? 35 years old. Jordan Henderson hasn't been good since he left Liverpool. Why the fuck is he still making it into this England team? And this one absolutely fucking baffles me. You've got Adam Wharton, Alex Scott, Morgan Gibbs-White, who should all be getting a shout in this team. You've got Cole Palmer, who can play in that role. There's 4 players there that are hands down miles above the standard of Jordan Henderson. And if you're taking Jordan Henderson just to sit on the bench and be a good guy around the training camp and try to offer some leadership, there are players in here throughout the defence, the midfield and the attack that should be offering that leadership already. You've got John Stones, you've got Declan Rice, you've got Harry Kane. You don't need another guy who is just there to make the numbers to be a leader behind the scenes. Absolutely wild shout from Thomas Tuchel. I do not understand this at all. So moving on to the wingers and forwards. Bukayo Saka, 24 years old. Obviously, England's first choice at the right wing position. I think it's hands down. Everybody knows Bukayo Saka's going to be in there. And then moving on, Noni Madueke. And I find this one baffling. Noni Madueke, I think, is a talent, right? I think this kid in 3-4 years' time could be an elite player. He could hit some potential and become a better player than he currently is. But what is he doing at the moment? Realistically, not a lot. I don't really see his spot in here being anywhere near the levels of other players. And this may be the style that Thomas Tuchel wants to play that's got him in here. This may be the fact that he wants fast wingers who can stretch the play. But when that doesn't work, you have to have a backup plan. And realistically, I would name players like Jared Bowen has had a better season. Harvey Barnes has had a better season. Cole Palmer has had a better season. There are a handful of players who realistically I would say have a better shout of being in this England team than Noni Madueke. Even Phil Foden being left out has come as a bit of a shock, even though he's not played that much for Man City. And then moving on to Anthony Gordon, 25 years old, obviously. Hit and miss season, I would say, as well. Anthony Gordon's had some good personal accolades, but as far as team measure goes, we all know Anthony Gordon's not really been with it this season for Newcastle. And I would suggest has not been playing the last 3-4 games for Newcastle to make sure he's fit for this England squad. And realistically, I also think that Eddie Howe and Newcastle United are keeping Anthony Gordon on the bench and fresh and fit for this England squad because he is for sale. He is being advertised for this World Cup to try and get bidders in to get him out. Moving on, Eberechi Eze, and I think he's had probably a slow start to the season and a good finish to the season. I can completely understand this boy is a creative wonder. He's the guy that can unlock a front line. He's the guy that can play in your Harry Kanes, your Ollie Watkins. I think he's had a great end to the season, and I think it's a really good shout that he's in there. And then the wild card, Marcus Rashford. Now, Marcus Rashford, again, up and down. I can completely understand him being the left-sided midfielder along with Anthony Gordon. I think they interchange quite well because they offer something different, both of them. Anthony Gordon is obviously your stretch play and put a ball into the box. Marcus Rashford is your come inside and offer a goal-scoring threat as an inside forward. I can completely understand why Marcus Rashford is there. And then obviously moving on to the strikers, the three strikers, and we'll go oldest to youngest purely because the last one is an absolute gem. Harry Kane, 32 years old. Harry Kane, he's still banging them in. I'll be surprised if he makes it to another European or the Euros for England, but I think this is his last shout at bringing silverware to England, and fair play to him. His goal scoring record says that he should be there. Ollie Watkins has had a fantastic run of form to the end of this season, and I can completely agree with the strikers at our disposal. Ollie Watkins should be in there. And then the wild card of the front line, Ivan Toney. Now, I personally, a lot of people will turn around and say Ivan Toney's playing in Saudi Arabia. They can't understand why he's in the team. I would say if you look across English strikers who are in form or can offer us something different, there are very few to pick from. Dom Solanke, probably Tammy Abraham. I would take Ivan Toney. I think this guy he's different. He's got a different breed to him. Ivan Toney is anything to win. Ivan Toney will rough you up. Ivan Toney's a good penalty taker. Ivan Toney can offer you something completely different. Some of the dark arts to this team that I think it lacks. England has always been the gentleman's team, the gentleman's game. I think Ivan Toney offers you something completely different. So, realistically, over the whole of this squad, the players that I think I'd probably call to not be in there and be swapped out for someone else, Noni Madueke, Jordan Henderson, John Stones, Jarrell Kwanzaa, possibly Dan Burn. I'm pleased that he's there, but possibly Dan Burn, depending on who else you take. But players that I can't believe haven't made this squad, and I'll be honest, Morgan Gibbs-White, Morgan Gibbs-White all day long. This guy has come into the richest vein of form at the end of the season. In that team with Elliot Anderson, I genuinely believe that midfield would be incredibly hard to deal with. Nottingham Forest have been fantastic. come the end of this season. They've really proven their worth, and these two players have been the key to that squad staying up. I'm really surprised that Adam Wharton and Alex Scott haven't been given a fair crack at this. I genuinely believe Adam Wharton should be in this team over Jordan Henderson. I'm baffled by Jordan Henderson being there. I'm baffled by Jordan Henderson even being in in the shout for a space, let alone being in the squad. And then obviously Jarrell Kwanzaa, John Stones, Dan Burn. I just think Harry Maguire has had such a good run of form to the end of this season, and I know he's spoken out in the media, and I think everybody's kind of surprised, but Jarrell Kwanzaa over Harry Maguire. I just think Harry Maguire's the guy that offers you something in the air going forward as well. Realistically, who's better in the air at scoring goals? Jarrell Kwanzaa, John Stones, Dan Burn, Harry Maguire. It's Harry Maguire all day long. This guy gets on everything. Defensively, I'd probably say Jarrell Kwanzaa and Dan Burn are worse than Harry Maguire, and John Stones is probably the outlier at being, the ultimate professional. But I am baffled by this team. Like I say, let me know in the comments who you would sub in and sub out. It's a wild shout from Thomas Tuchel. He's obviously got a game plan, and I'm not knocking him as a manager. He's a very good manager when it comes to cup competitions. But this squad, I can see what he's trying to do, get some balance. But I genuinely think you've taken far too many injury-prone players, and we might suffer due to injuries during this tournament. Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe. Enjoy the last day of the Premier League, and I'll be back to see you later.